If you want the ultimate gaming setup today, the recipe seems obvious. You look for a monitor boasting numbers like 4K resolution, an OLED panel, a 144Hz refresh rate, and perfect blacks. We're trained to read these manufacturer spec sheets like scorecards. The higher the numbers go, the closer we assume we are to achieving true-to-life visual realism. Yet, if you run a modern game on a 20-year-old 50-pound classic CRT monitor, the resulting image challenges the logic of that modern spec sheet. On paper, a brand new OLED completely destroys a CRT. So if the old tech actually looks more immersive, our entire method of measuring realism by spec sheets has to be flawed. Play a modern title on one of these tubes, and you notice motion clarity that mirrors how our eyes perceive the physical world. When you sprint through a dense digital jungle, the movement feels strikingly natural. It stops feeling like you're staring at a flat display. It operates more like looking through a camera lens or recalling a physical memory of a place you've actually been. To understand why an obsolete analog box creates a deeper sense of immersion than a state-of-the-art OLED, we have to unlearn how we think screens actually work. The biggest visual hurdle for any digital display is motion. Modern flat panels struggle with this because of a limitation known as the persistent frame. LCDs and OLEDs load a static digital image, holding it until the next frame, snapping instantly. But human eyes track smoothly. When your eye follows an object that the screen holds perfectly still, the image physically smears as motion blur. A CRT doesn't hold frames. It fires a continuous electron beam, drawing the image line by line, instantly fading out. Because it goes completely dark between scans, there is no static image. The motion stays sharp, with zero blur. Modern displays try inserting black frames between images to fake this, but it drastically cuts brightness. True motion clarity isn't a product of incredibly high refresh rates. It is the direct result of completely eliminating the persistent frame. That brings us to the second metric we rely on, the promise of native 4K resolution. A modern monitor is a rigid grid of microscopic pixels. If you drop the game's resolution below that grid, the monitor mathematically guesses the missing data, leaving you with a muddy, fuzzy image. A CRT lacks that fixed pixel grid entirely. Instead, it relies on analog wave frequencies, allowing the monitor to fluidly expand and contract its display range. You can run a game at 1600 by 1200 on a CRT, and with zero interpolation happening, the picture remains absolutely sharp. It easily rivals a native 4K image on an OLED. Pushing over 8 million individual pixels to hit a native 4K target places an immense computational load on modern graphics cards. But lower the resolution perfectly on a CRT without sacrificing visual sharpness, and you instantly free up a massive percentage of that GPU processing power. You can then redirect all that extra horsepower into elements that actually create realism, like advanced ray trace lighting, natural soft shadows, and much higher frame rates. Running a CRT today acts almost like a hardware cheat code. You bypass the raw pixel tax and spend your computer's power entirely on building realistic environments. So if this old technology handles motion flawlessly and maximizes your graphics card, why did we stop using it entirely? The answer comes down to pure logistics. CRT monitors were incredibly heavy, required massive desk space, and consumed huge amounts of electricity. Building them at a global scale was also a manufacturing nightmare, requiring dedicated assembly lines to shape and vacuum seal heavy glass tubes. When early LCDs arrived on the market, they offered a radically thinner footprint. They were vastly cheaper to build, much easier to ship around the world, and simple to set up in an office. The tech industry pivoted to flat panels purely for logistical convenience and cost savings, not because they delivered a better picture. That leaves the heavy beige monitor sitting on the desk not as obsolete retro junk, but as a technological time capsule. The analog architecture of these monitors offered a resolution and motion sealing that exceeded the practical capabilities of the computer hardware available during their peak years. Today, 20 years later, our graphics cards have finally caught up, generating enough raw power to max out the physical limits of what these screens can display. Achieving deep visual immersion requires more than chasing the highest number on a product box. It comes down to the physical alignment between the digital render and the analog display.